Shang-Chi.
Shang.
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 S-H-A-N-G. Shang.
That's what I said.
Hey everybody, I just got out of the theater. Mike relatively recently got out of the theater, and we are in it for Shang-Chi. So Mike, go ahead.
Okay, so this movie, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, is directed by Daniel Destin Cretton and co-written by Daniel Destin Cretton, Dave Callahan, and Andrew Lanham, and stars Simu Liu as our titular hero, who must confront the past he thought he left behind when he's drawn into the web of the mysterious Ten Rings organization. So you mentioned on your Facebook page earlier that you walked into this with little to no knowledge, and I kind of said the same thing in my review, that not since the first Guardians of the Galaxy that I've basically walked into this movie blind. Minus like a few cultural osmosis details.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we're not going to see Fu Manchu because of rights and stuff.
Yeah, but it's like there's all sorts of stuff that's in here that it's like I said to myself that this is the most Lord of the Rings thing that we're starting to approach in random territory with the MCU now. It's like
I see where you're going with this.
Because this, like, I get it. We've had aliens, and I'm not one of those people that's just like, oh, it's just another creature. I'm like, no, this is different. This is not aliens. This is mythical creatures, and it's this is something. Before we get too into this, the what is the first main villain of this movie, the Mandarin. I love that they took the piss out of that name in this movie.
Same.
And B, the Mandarin casting in Iron Man 3 proves how unbelievably hypocritical 98% of all movie fans are.
Yes.
That and the casting of Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul. What do I mean by that, people watching this movie? Or watching this review? So, everyone and their mother, I think people should be casted as what they're casted as, whatever. But, in Batman Begins, Ra's al Ghul is played by one of the most Irish people to ever Irish on the planet. No one says a damn word because it's Liam Neeson.
Hold on. I know you're going to make another point, but let me just fit this one in. Bane, who is like one of the most prominent Latin American characters in comics, played by Tom fucking Hardy.
Played by Tom Hardy. Exactly. And again, both those cases, Tom Hardy a little bit more than others, but both of them, no one said anything. Why? Because you liked how they were played. So randomly he's not that skin color, boom, went right over there. In Iron Man 3, when those trailers came out, Ben Kingsley, Sir Ben Kingsley, was cast as the Mandarin. Nothing got said. Nothing! And no one bitched about it until he wasn't the Mandarin!
And then suddenly it was a problem.
Then it was a problem. Then it was, well, this is dumb. He wasn't the Mandarin, and now they're just playing with us. Like, you had one of the most unbelievably nowhere near what that casting should be as the character, but you like Ben Kingsley, so therefore it wasn't a problem. But then when he wasn't the Mandarin anymore, then all the bitching starts? People, Stop being stupid. I've never got to get that rant out before in a video we've recorded, but I am so damn sick of hypocritical people that are bitching about the not right race of characters being cast. Unless they like that actor, then it's okay. I am not saying that people should be whitewashed in roles. I will never, ever defend that ever. But when this crap happens and you okay it just because you like the actor, especially in the whole Mandarin thing. Oh, it's Ben Kingsley. He'll do great because he's Ben Kingsley. Until he wasn't? Stop doing that, people. Please. But anyway, this is still not an accurate Mandarin to a degree. And there's a reason why they didn't do that.
Because the Mandarin as a concept is kind of sort of racist.
It is kind of sort of racist. I wasn't going to get into that point. And I'm very glad he was not called the Mandarin. Because again, they take the piss out of it. What I'm getting at is the actual Mandarin and the 10 rings are basically an infinity gauntlet.
Yes. Like, how they're depicted in this movie are not even close to how they're depicted in the comics. However,
yeah.
And we'll get into it more once we actually talk about the post-credit scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But to my knowledge, at least the origin of the rings is vaguely similar.
Yeah, the origin is vaguely similar. This is the only thing that I looked up when Iron Man 3 came out, was who the Mandarin was and what his shtick was, because I'd never heard of him. I was very low on the Iron Man rogues gallery. But they're just, according to this, I'm looking at the Marvel Unlimited Resources page, which is what I looked at before. I had this favorite and saved, is that they were discovered by the Mandarin in China's Valley of Spirits. They're just from a planet they're the product of a dragon-like race called the, boy, am I going to pronounce this wrong, Axonkar, or the Malkuans, from the planet Muklu 4? But anyways, their power as a source for they mainly were used as interstellar craft engines, and the ring's functions cannot currently be explained by modern Earth science, which is similar. But why they didn't portray them, again, like we said in the movie, is because they're basically little miniature different versions of like an Infinity Gauntlet, but with 10 different powers. On the left hand, the pinky is an ice blast, which can freeze anything in its path or lower object's temperature to absolute zero. The ring finger is a mento incentivizer, magnifies the Mandarin's psychic energy, enabling him to mentally control a person, can only affect in short range. Middle finger is an electroblast. Index finger is a flame blast. Thumb is white lightning. This is only on the left hand, by the way. They're specific about the hands. White light, which emits different types of energy from an electromagnetic spectrum, frequently used to intense visible light or laser beams. Right hand. Black light creates absolute blackness, where all light is absorbed, leaving the ring access the dark force used by people such as Darkstar and the Shroud. Ring finger, disintegration beam, destroys the bond between the atoms and molecules, causing the object's cohesion to fall apart. Needs 20 minutes to recharge in between uses. Middle finger, vortex beam, causes air to swirl around in a vortex at a high speed, can levitate objects, propel the wearer, Mandarin, into a flight, used as a weapon. Kind of use that a little bit in the movie. Index, impact beam, projects concussive force of approximately 350 pounds of TNT, can use to cause intense sonic vibrations and create magnetic waves. And the thumb is a matter rearranger, can rearrange atoms and the molecules of substance, speed up and slow down their movements, and result in various effects, cannot actually transmute elements. For those of you that watch the movie, 99.9% of that didn't happen. Which is for good reason, because that is a very overpowered person if you throw them into this universe of this dude's first movie.
Agreed.
And the fact at the end of the movie that Shang-Chi gets those rings. I know that's a really shot on early spoiler, but you see the thing at the bottom. We're going to talk about it. But yeah, for those of you that don't really know it, but if you do, I'm glad. If you don't, go watch it. The main actor is from Kim's Convenience, which is, I believe it's a Canadian show.
I think so.
I believe it's Canadian, about him and his family running a convenience store and the shenanigans that which ensue. It's great. You should go watch it.
Apparently, it was based on a play.
That I did not know. I've only seen the show.
But yeah, I've heard good things about the show.
Yeah, I'm very happy you got
just haven't gotten around to actually watching it.
Yeah, I'm very happy you got this role. Which is weird in the show. He's very estranged from his parents. He's like, I got this. But yeah, let's get into the actual movie here. This didn't go how I expected it, and I don't know what I expected.
We'll talk about the third act in a minute, because that's the stuff that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, that comes from not knowing what the hell we were getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but on the whole, I honestly really loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I
had some issues. We'll get into it, but
yeah, we'll get into that. But for starters, I know like not everyone likes Simu Liu's Twitter presence, but like for the role that he was given in this movie, I thought he did an excellent job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought he really sold the, like he walked this really fine line between the, you know, the reluctant hero that we see in like all of these types of movies, and then just like, you know, he was just, you know, he was just very naturally charismatic just in his everyday life.
Yeah, and he's a character that was raised to be ice cold, and well, after his mom passes, that is raised to be ice cold and be a killer who is then trying to equate to a life to where he's normal. So a little bit of the awkwardness that he has in the film makes sense for certain situations about how he doesn't quite joke as much as other people do. And I've heard certain people say that he's too serious all the time. I'm like, did you forget about the part where he was raised by a psychotic 1,000-year-old conqueror to be a murderer?
And this is probably why they cast Awkwafina as the comic relief.
Yeah,
because she is doing all of the heavy lifting that that Simu Liu can't.
Mm-hmm. Because not that he can't do it, he's hilarious in Kim's Convenience, but his character isn't meant to be like that.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if you ever saw The Farewell, but Awkwafina is a much better actor, like a much better dramatic actor than most people let on.
I have not seen her in much, gonna be honest. So I thought she was fine.
If you have to choose like one movie to watch, definitely check out The Farewell.
Okay, we can do that. I'm trying to think about how to talk about this, because it's like I didn't expect like the whole last third of this movie to happen, but we're gonna get there later. It's just so weird that like almost nothing happens until they get there.
And then everything happens.
Yeah. And it's like Abomination is in this movie in maybe the strangest MCU cameo we've ever had.
I don't disagree.
He has the weird fish ears that everyone complained he didn't have in the Incredible Hulk movie, that now everyone has to finally accept did actually happen in the MCU, even though Edward Norton's not here anymore. everybody else except Liv Tyler is pretty much here now.
Mm-hmm.
You have to finally accept that was a real thing. He gets in this fight ring with Wong. They have a fight, and then Wong goes, "We'll practice more about that later," and then just walks away with them to a random cage. Are they friends? Is he training him? Did I miss something in previous MCU movies?
Actually, wait, was that the raft that he was taking him to?
I don't know. It looked like a random UFC fighter cage in the middle of an empty black room.
It's so weird. I have so many questions about.
Yeah, that cameo was so weird. It comes out of nowhere and it's gone faster than it came.
That being said, I will gladly accept any reason for Wong to show up.
Yeah, Wong's great, and he gets another great random 2 scenes at the end of this movie. But was that okay? Was it just me, or at the beginning of this movie, did you expect those pendants to be something else than what they were?
What did you expect them to be?
I don't know. I expected it to be like something. I honestly thought it had to be something with them, like you had to wear them to come in contact with Fin Fang Foom. I honestly thought that's what they were.
Yeah, honestly, like, honestly, I thought they were less plot specific and more just like emotionally significant. Like,
That could be.
You know, when we first see Shang-Chi's mother put it on his neck, I thought it was just like, you know, just a family heirloom.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I thought it was 2 until we heard about there was another one.
Yeah, then it's like, oh wait, there's 2 of them, and the bad guys want it.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah, exactly. Early compliments that I have to give this, and it is something that a lot of people bitch about, and I agree to an extent, because man, it gets bad in scenes where you have enhanced or superhero or superpower ability having people in these MCU fights.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Oh boy, do they like to put 68,000 cuts into their fight scenes sometimes. Especially with people like Black Widow, Bucky. Not as much with Cap. They actually got a little bit better with him later on. But they like to chop up their cut scenes or their fight scenes. There was a little bit of that here, but not much. A lot of times, the camera just kept following and stayed through, and they had great angles and stuff like that. I don't know if that was just like the director went, I want to do it this way, or they finally heard enough of, we aren't good at choreographing fight, or the cinematography of our fight scenes isn't that great. It was a lot better.
You know what's really smart about the fight choreography in this movie? Like, I don't know how many of the actors did their own stunts, but a great way to cover that is I think it was either the bus scene or the skyscraper scene, or both, where you would see the camera moving, but it was clearly divided by like either the bus or like the the rails of the building.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, like you can take out the the stunt performers at any point, and you know the layman audience won't know the difference.
No, absolutely not. And there is points where it's like also that they can go behind the head and like do other things like that, man. Also, like, again, the cool shots they had, the when they were, it turned into like a video game level when it was the train and you were going through it. It was like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and I thought that was a really cool way that they did that. Do more of this. I'm
Yes.
happy that you have someone like Shang-Chi. I am also, I want to say I've been ruined on that word, or I've been pronouncing it wrong my whole life because of Mortal Kombat. Because Shang Tsung is pronounced Shang Tsung. And I've always heard Shanghai, and now here it's Shang. I don't know how to pronounce it anymore.
They also kind of make fun of that with Shang's American name.
You was Sean, yeah.
He's on the run from his father, but he changes his name to Sean.
Yeah, that was the one where I was like, I was like, okay, they're gonna make a joke about that later, and if they don't, I'm gonna be really disappointed. And they did, and then I'm like, you have to make him know how stupid that was. Like, there's a lot of moments in this movie, like we mentioned with the Mandarin, with that, where they were very much going to mention how stupid certain things were, and when you're okay with mentioning it in the movie, you get away with a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're self-aware, and being self-aware can help a lot in situations like that. And that's another thing Awkwafina helped with quite a bit, the Katie character, where she was like the okay, what person that we got to follow. She was kind of like Shang-Chi's Darcy.
Yeah,
in a way.
she's our audience surrogate.
Exactly, and I'm very appreciative of that. But yeah, I also, unless I missed it in all the trailers, they almost never mention his sister in the trailers, or did I miss that?
She's not referred to by name, but you do see shots of her in, I think it was either the first or second trailer, where like you see like you see her in her like Fight Club.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and
but I'll agree that like watching those trailers, I didn't know that was supposed to be his sister. I thought that was just like some random either supporting character or antagonist.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing. I was just like, that's just a person, but they're more uniquely dressed than everyone else.
By the way, she's my favorite character.
Oh, yeah, she's cool. She's up there. I like her quite a lot.
So for those who don't know, the character is I'm gonna butcher this name, but Zhaoling.
I think so, or
yeah.
Zhaoling, something like that.
And she's played by a relative newcomer named Ming'er Zhang, and she's awesome.
Yeah, she was great. I liked every scene she was in. Absolutely, she was good. And she's going to be, we'll get there, she's going to be really important for what? Oh boy.
Yeah, she's basically taking over the 10 Rings. And that kind of excites me.
We're now getting returns credits for evil organizations? Like, okay.
Although I gotta say, like this kind of like that being her post credit scene kind of reminds me of Baron Mordo at the end of Doctor Strange.
That is true. That is very true. And like the fact that it's basically like, yeah, people really liked it when we had Hydra. We really can't have Hydra anymore. What do we got? 10 rings? All right, bring them on in.
And in all fairness, this version of the 10 Rings is 1,000 times more interesting than the iteration that we got introduced to in Iron Man.
Yeah, it was kind of, it's like that was a random offshoot that just was kind of hanging out in that end of, where does Iron Man go again?
Somewhere in the Middle East.
I'm just trying to remember. I can't remember the exact location Iron Man goes to. Oh boy. But anyway, yeah, this is definitely more, and especially her version that you get to see developing at the end there. That it's more actual like martial arts focused. I think that'll be really cool. Because that can be it's going to be a big thing in his movies, but it'll also be a perpetual pain in the ass in everyone else's movies, like it was with Cap with Hydra. And yeah, she'll be great for the head of that. The guy, what's the name of the guy who played the Mandarin?
Tony Leung.
Tony Leung. I can't remember his name. They only say it like once.
Wenwu.
Wenwu, thank you. But yeah, he was great. I wasn't expecting again that he was a puppet for the villain to a degree. And we only get to see for 10 minutes.
Kind of.
Again, I can't say how this was not at all the movie I was expecting, and I don't know what movie I was expecting. Like, they show Fin Fang Foom for like 10 seconds in one of the trailers. That was great. Because if they would have shown, and they don't even let you know that it's Ten Lao. No, what is it? The name's escaping me. The land they're in.
Macau?
No, the land they go to.
Oh, hold on.
Ten Lao? No.
Kalo.
And Kalo. They didn't show any of that. Like outside of the little ring where Shang enters to fight to get in the fight, or I should say training with his aunt, you see a little bit of like the wind bending type of stuff she's doing. They don't show any of that. Thankfully. That was kept secret. That was a very good thing to do. They're getting better with that in these trailers.
By the way, circling back to your rant.
Go ahead.
Slattery's in this.
He is. That was why I kind of brought it up. Holy balls. I heard he was in this movie. Wow, does he have a bigger role than I thought he was ever going to? I thought he was going to be a 2-second joke. I was like, all right, that's him in the prison. That's all they're going to do. They're going to make the ha-ha, funny. They liked me. Oh, here I go. And then, no. Him and Maurice are just hanging out. I was just like, how mystical of this crap are we going to get? Because I thought Fin Fang Foom was going to be like a, kind of like a vision that he sees that gives him the spirit to fight on. It's whatever. And he wasn't going to be real. But oh boy, is that whole can of worms opened. And we're in the third movie in Phase 4?
Second.
Was
yeah. We've only seen
Far From Home was technically the last movie of Phase 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in the second movie. That's even more astonishing to what I was bringing up. Like, we got to see Black Widow, which is basically introducing Valentina and Yelena.
Yep.
That's all we got. And then we get this. And like a whole shitstorm of random stuff's coming. And we're barely into the multiverse horseshit that's going on. And then we're going to get No Way Home. Which is just like, But okay.
By the way, am I the only one who thought like in the No Way Home trailer, Wong leaves the Sanctorum basically to join the Fight Club?
That's what I'm wondering. That's why, again, this is making less and less sense to me. Where it fits in. Because if that is not where he went, where did he go? Why is he with Abomination? Because, like, you gotta be thinking Valentina's making the Thunderbolts or some version of the Thunderbolts. And like, if Abomination's not going to end up there, what in the balls is Wong doing with him? We haven't even gotten to the stuff in the mystical land of everything that happened there. The most confusing thing that happened in this movie is that cameo. I'm not kidding. I could connect the dots for the most part on everything else, but that thing still has me so confused because they just walk away from it. Wong is in this movie later, and he's just kind of like, yep, that's kind of gone. Like, no. Let's circle back to, for whatever reason, you're having training fight sessions in... That's the one question that is never going to be answered unless they bring it up again. Like, dude, they have to bring that up later.
I hope it comes up in either like She-Hulk or whatever future Avengers thing.
Because
also, yeah, let's go to the mid-credit scene for a second, because people have been asking me like, where does this take place in the MCU? I assumed like in the I assumed it took place, if not post Endgame, then at the very least post Snap, like right after Infinity War, because in the post credit scene
she has long hair.
Like Captain Marvel has long hair, and Bruce Banner is still Bruce, like pure Bruce.
But I would basically confirm that this happens after Endgame.
Oh,
because Bruce's arm is fucked up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
So, again, and this could be just them giving her long hair back, this should be a decent amount of time after Endgame, because she had a little bit longer hair than I do currently. And then it is beyond shoulder length in that post-credit scene. So I don't know.
I'm sure there will be like a million articles like Shang-Chi mid-credits explained.
Yeah, there'll be something like that. But like, again, that's the only reason, because I'm sitting there watching. This shows how also it's weird, again, that he's back to being just Bruce. That's weird. Because they went out of their way in Endgame to be like, we've melded. We're the perfect being and we get along. And now I'm Bruce again. When I was not Bruce at the thing. But then the fact that his arm is still fucked. Because that was how I'm sitting in the theater. I'm like, holy crap, it's actually Bruce. He's like human. And then I'm like, why is he wearing a cast? It's gone. It's gone. The end credit scene ends. And I'm like, why is he... Duh, idiot. He did the snap. I'm like, he was wearing a cast at the funeral. But, yeah, we went way past the movie ending. But I would assume it has to be past Endgame. Just how far past Endgame, I don't know. But basically, until we get to the Mystic Land, they get tricked into going there. They have the cool bus fight. And then they get the map, and then it's training. They're in the jail. And then basically it's everything that we're talking about. Because until then, you basically get backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm forgetting, again, the most confusing part of the whole movie is that damn Abomination fight that better be addressed in Doctor Strange. That's all I gotta say. Or it better be addressed in freaking Far From Home. Or No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Sorry. Blah, No Way Home. Because that's the one that makes the least sense. At least to me. I thought they were going to address that in a post-credit scene. Personally. But we get to you learn that his dad has been doing this for over 1,000 years. That was something else. But I can't get over that Ben Kingsley is the translator for the faceless whatever that was. And this is, man, okay, we're going to get a confession from Brock here. I brought this up in the very first video that you and me ever did together, Mike.
Oh,
this was the after show for the mailbag that we did. I'm pretty sure it was you.
It was Marcus.
I think
it was either Marcus or Micah.
Oh, Micah was there, but I think Marcus was as well, because Marcus was the one that I think freaked out as most when I brought this up. Marcus Longoni, for anybody else that did. Dude, if you see this, I have not talked to you in years, but you're awesome, and I hope you're doing well. I brought up that I actually really like, adore, and think The Love Guru is hilarious. Now,
okay,
because that was one of the questions. What's a movie that everybody hates that you really like? In that movie, Ben Kingsley's in it.
Okay.
And the name of Austin Powers' character, I believe his real name is Maurice. If I'm not thinking wrong. But they sing the gosh dang it, I'm a midnight toker. I'm some call me the gangster of love. What is that song called?
It's just The Joker.
The Joker. They sing that song, and it's like, some people call me Maurice. And I'm like, Ben Kingsley is in this talking to a thing called Maurice. And all I can picture is them on the beach with Jessica Alba and freaking Mike Myers singing that song. So I couldn't get that out of the back of my head the entire time they're doing it, because it just had to be a creature called Maurice. But anyway, yeah, so they get to the jungle, or they get into this forest, and it's some of the coolest, best done CGI I've ever seen. It's just great. And yeah, like those weird lion things, and as they called it, weird looking horse. Just everything in there was gorgeous.
I think the designs of those creatures, everything from Maurice being a like a chubby little faceless.
What I honestly thought is that was the MCU's version of Gizmo.
You're not too far off.
And it's just like, ugh.
What I can say for sure though is there's going to be either official or unofficial plushies of that thing forever.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They have it in the production line. They just haven't introduced it yet. Mm-hmm. And another thing, I just love how, and again, they're not doing this on purpose, but they are purposely doing it to give themselves lore to help with other things. This thing introduced the new Hydra through the 10 rings,
yep.
And it also introduced the new Asgard. The mystic land that one person knows about and could bring all the secrets on, or they could go hide to, that someone's going to try to get to later. They even had basically the Frost Giants, which is basically whatever. I'm not trying to say they basically just copied the formula, but they now have their new mystic cool area that they can bring all this cool lore about and bring in, which is great, because they always have a new, they're like, they don't have Asgard anymore. They can't. No, they can. They have tons of these lands like this that they could bring in. They're just now pulling up the cool things that nobody knows about because they're established and they know that they can mess with this stuff now.
This is what I love about specifically adaptations of stories from the big two. Mm-hmm. We've had these characters for 60, 70, 80 plus years, and all these artists and writers have come up with thousands of different worlds, different mm-hmm. planets, different secret organizations. So when when the old guard retires certain characters or certain locations, like you're never going to run out of ideas, basically.
Nope. It's like they were bringing some of that stuff up already. Like, I was shocked when in their first saga, the Guardians were there. Like, I wasn't expecting anything. Like, I had heard of Doctor Strange, I'd heard of Black Panther, I'd heard of everyone, and then the Guardians, and then I went right on the old idiot box, as my one of my good friends, Doug Thomas, likes to call it, and just researched everything. Like, I knew about Drax, kind of, and a few minor things, but I didn't know a lot. But when I learned the cast, I looked them all up and what they were going to be, so I knew that. But this time I purposely didn't do it. We're starting off in the unknown, and it's only going to get more in that direction, which is fun and exciting because Kevin Feige said something of, don't think about there being an Avengers film for a while.
I like that for a couple of reasons. One, it gives audiences plenty of time to get to know the new characters introduced.
Yep.
And two, Endgame was such a big, like, massive event that we need some time. Like, hell, we can even wait until 2023 to even, like, start talking about another Avengers movie. And
correct me if I'm wrong, at some point there was some article that came out where they were talking about, and this was before Endgame, I think it's before Infinity War, about how they were going to start thinking of doing more mini Avengers movies that weren't Avengers movies, but they had like a couple people meet up and do a big thing.
I can't cite a specific article, but I know exactly what you're talking about as far as like what they're trying to do in the future. And honestly, they already kind of started that with Thor Ragnarok, with the Spider-Man movies, essentially.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and I'm thinking specifically, like, Doctor Strange is going to have, they've said Wanda's going to be in it. I would almost bet my ass that you might see Loki at some point in that thing.
Probably.
So, you might freaking see Shang-Chi in there now. I don't know. But, yeah, anyway, that's getting a whole can of worms. And I don't even know what they're going to do. You're going to, like, Secret Wars is going to be a series on Disney Plus. That I thought was going to be a whole Avengers lead up. Nope.
Wait, do you mean Secret Invasion?
Secret Invasion, I'm sorry. But it's just like,
because Secret Wars deserves to be on the big screen.
I'd like to be like, Secret Wars is there. We have the Skrulls. I was like, okay, we're just going to tone it down and we're going to deal with the Skrulls and stuff like that. Nope. We're also going to have the multiverse. We're not planning 10 years this time. We're doing like 20. It's like, goodness gracious. But anyway, back to the movie. You get to see the cool murals and stuff like that. One thing that you and me talked about during the longest thing I'll ever do in my life, that Snyder Cut podcast, talked about how typically DC likes to do their lore like mosaics in big things like god sculptures.
Yep.
Like you would see in these Greek mythology type things like Hercules and stuff like that. Even though Hercules is a Marvel character, but like stuff like that you would see, and they would do it more like in the MCU. It's more of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge type of thing. They had a little bit of DC type of going on here with that mural wall, and I like that.
Mm-hmm. I like that too. Even another scene I like is when Wenwu has the two pendants, and reveals that that big water sequence that shows how to get to the forest.
Yep.
That was just another example of like a great use of CGI.
Yep, absolutely. And like their CGI is beautiful in this movie. On all counts, Fin Fang Foom was gorgeous. Holy crap, was he gorgeous. Like, I could not get over how well defined he was. And they had him in light and they had him in dark. It was great. Now, I will give them a little crap. It did get magically pretty pitch black outside and we had to have the big fight. It's whatever. Not many people have the balls to be Kong versus Godzilla to be like, big CGI fight. Oh, the sun's coming out. Yep, we did our work here. You're going to see how good this looks. But, yeah, that whole ending fight, I will admit, this is the end of the movie is where the best of the movie is, and the end of the movie is also kind of where I have all of my problems with the movie.
We'll get to that in a second, but
yeah,
first,
we'll get there.
First, I kind of want to back up to a pretty underrated aspect of the film, and I don't know how familiar you are with the director, Destin Daniel Cretton.
Not at all.
Okay, so I've seen all of his movies, or at least, at least all of his like feature films. So one thing he's like really well known for is, dramas.
Mm-hmm.
So one part that I really loved was in the beginning we get to see Wenwu falling in love with let me bring up the mother's name. Yingli.
Yep.
Played by Fala Chen. And she was wonderful.
Oh yeah, she was great.
Not a huge role, because obviously all of her stuff's in flashbacks, but like as that sort of presence, she was perfectly cast for that character,
mm-hmm.
and perfectly believable as someone who, a near immortal like Wenwu would fall in love with.
Mm-hmm.
But like seeing the antagonist in a more human light, like that was just really well done. And Tony Leone he's just incredible, man.
Yeah, he was good. He was good in everything. I thought everybody was incredibly well acted in everything that they did. The movie was cast perfectly, in my opinion. And it was directed well too. And that's always have to throw the weirdos in there too, like Razor Fist, and I can't think of the name of the character, the specialist trainee. It's like Ghost or something. It's not Ghost, but it's something like that.
Are you talking about the one who was training Aquafina?
No. The one with the white mask that trained Shang and his sister a little.
Oh, okay.
I can't think of what the character's name is. IMDb. And under 10 Rings, it's Razor Fist. Is it Death Dealer? I think it was Death Dealer.
Could have been.
I think it's Death Dealer. But anyway, yeah.
Yep, it is Death Dealer.
Yeah. I expected him to have a little bit of a bigger role, because I honestly again thought that Wenwu. I'm sorry. Wenwu. I thought he was going to be the final guy. So I thought that Death Dealer was going to be the person that he has to go through before he gets to him. And then Wenwu was going to be the end. And Death Dealer goes out like a bitch. But like Razor Fist makes it and that guy doesn't. Like,
by the way, do you know who plays Wenwu?
You mean Death
Or
Dealer?
I'm sorry, not Razor Fist. Sorry.
Florian Montano? I'm not sure what else I would know him from.
He was Ivan Drago's son in Creed 2.
Oh yeah, Victor.
Yep.
I believe I'm thinking that right, that dude's going to be in the Borderlands movie.
Oh, is he?
I think he might be either body capture or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I think he is, if I'm remembering that name correctly. But yeah, the
Krieg.
like,
He's Krieg.
He's Krieg. Okay. But yeah, I like the motivations they had behind Winwoo to get back to his wife, because that was the one honest thing that he had in his life. And that was a little bit different than other MCU people. Was like the actual like spirit tempting him and stuff like that. Because they didn't do. That's like another like one thing I'm really happy they did with Thanos is they didn't have him just having the mad boner for Lady Death, and that's why he did everything. Like, I get it. That's cool that he wants to impress the Lady Death, but there's sometimes when they do it that it doesn't make sense, and this made a little bit more sense to the MCU to do it this way. But yeah, his motivations were good, and like, he's been around for thousands of years. Like, nothing messes with him, so he knows what he knows and all that. So he was just possessed with it, and I like that he just gave up at the end when he found out that, oh, so I did fuck up. Whoops. And he's just like, nope, get the hell away from my son. I screwed up. He's got to do better because I'm an idiot.
The reason why I like that is because, you know, it shows that he is like, he is very much a softie when it comes to the love of his life, and B, even though he's been around for like thousands of years, it shows how powerful this like dark force is.
Yeah, that's even going to screw with him. And I liked how they asked if he was wearing the rings, and they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, they wouldn't give a shit about him if he didn't have the rings. They're tempting anyone that can come close. And I'm just like, huh. Like, so they are far reaching, but they just know he has the ring, so that they're coming after him. I'm like, that's a cool detail.
I'm kind of curious, like, other than the fact that the rings are, you know, super powerful, like, is there anything special about them to these like demons or whatever?
I don't think there's anything special to them in specific. I think they just knew that those things were powerful, and they would have the horsepower to crack that wall open. To them, honestly,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Obviously, it means something to someone else. We forgot to mention that freaking end credit scene that they were supposedly sending a pulse to somewhere, but then they were like, tune in next time because we're going to forget that we were about to say where it was sending it to. But yeah. And you got that Godzilla villain that came out of that freaking gate. That Cthulhu monstrosity. It's like, wow, okay, this is a different movie than I was expecting this to be. I'm okay with it because, like I said, we're going mystical, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon meets Lord of the Rings level with this, and I'm okay with that in my Marvel movies.
You know what? I think it's the logical next step after Aliens. You gotta do magic.
Yeah, it is. It's the big what does Sam say? It's the big three: androids.
No. What was it? It was like
it's androids and wizards. I can't remember what the middle one is. Aliens?
Aliens, androids, and wizards.
Because he's like, we don't have wizards. He's like, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is a sorcerer. A sorcerer is a wizard that doesn't have a hat. Bucky's just sick of his shit at that point. But yeah, it's now you add the fourth one, mystical. Whatever. So it's technically, but yeah, yeah, that was some spectacular, like, the CGI was well done, but like, again, that was when we'll talk in, like, we're approaching an hour, so we gotta tighten it up a little bit here. But yeah, it's got good setup for everything else, and I just like that at the end that they're just talking in the bar about what they did. Like they don't think it's weird to these people. Like they're going to believe them, and then they're just like, yeah, you don't have to be whatever. And then just like I now know it by the sound that it's that portal opening. I'm just like, oh, okay, now they're gonna get it. And it's just like, one thing I adore about the MCU outside of Spider-Man, Secret Identities couldn't care less.
Same.
Just could not care. They never have and never will.
I think the only reason why they have to have Spider-Man keep his secret identity is because that's just always been a part of his character. The balance between his real life and his superhero life.
Yeah.
Also, he's still a kid.
He is still a kid, and I just love. Again, I had my rant earlier. I'm just gonna have a small thing. I never want to hear Mephisto's name ever again. First, he was the villain in WandaVision. Then he was the guy that's in that castle in Loki. And now everyone's like, Doctor Strange is Mephisto. I know it. Doctor Strange wouldn't screw up that spell. That just wouldn't happen. It's him because he's got the Eye of Agamotto again. That's really weird. I'll give you that one. But
my theory, Thanos never destroyed the real Eye of Agamotto.
Okay, like they just like it had the time stone in it, but it had other things that made it do what it was doing.
That's the theory that's kind of running.
Okay. Because like in my head, I'm like, if you guys just try and act like the first Thanos never happened, I'm going to be very irritated because it's just like, well, you just brought the stones back, so that means there wasn't a thing where he put. But I hope it's what you're saying. He just got a different Eye of Agamotto. But yeah, it's I'm just hoping that in that we do not have to do the one more day thing.
I know, but there are ways to extract the meat of that story without the fat. Yeah, without the fat.
Yes, but anyway, we liked Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings for the most part, right?
Oh, absolutely. I would say this is like top 1/3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One of these days I'll do like a full rewatch, but there's just too many.
Yeah. Now, I did like this movie. I'm not as high as it as other people. And one thing that brings it down for me is and I fully believe, because this is the first time they've ever done anything like this. Boy, was there no clear version of what the hell actually happened in that end fight scene. Once they get on the dragon,
okay,
he tries to steal the soul. I'm like, I'm with you. We're good. The arrow happens. I was going to be really irritated if that killed that fucking dragon with that arrow. It doesn't. It distracts it. It's fine. But then we get he randomly throws 2 rings, and then he hui-hi sonics to the rings, and then he just shoots in the air, sends the rings down, does 4 or 5 poses, and then poof, it explodes. I was like, we're gonna get into territory where rings can just solve problem when they need to, because he just put it on top of the dragon, did a circle incantation, did 4 or 5 wind moves, then they were inside of the dragon, did 4 or 5 wind moves, and then Dragon of Magical Entity imploded from the inside, rings came back, days saved, and we flew away.
All right, now here's a question. You brought up earlier the powers of the 10 rings in the comics. I think one of the reasons why it was a good thing that the rings, for better or for worse, were given just generic abilities was because if these were more comic accurate, like the end fight scene wouldn't last nearly as long.
No, it wouldn't. And I agree with you there. And I'm happy because, again, that he has these things, that they're more toned down. Like they're basically, what I want to say, telepathic, bring it backable. Like they're interchangeable melee weapons with a little bit of pulse blast in them. That's perfectly fine. That is leveled down enough to where that's all good.
It's kind of like a Green Lantern ring, but
without the constructs.
Yeah.
It's just, again, the biggest problem, and again, it's because I don't think they knew how to handle it because it's the first time doing it. The mystical dragon, the way the dragon fight ended is my only problem. Because I still, to a degree, don't know exactly how that dragon died, outside of the fact that some other rings got inside him and then he went poof. I'm missing a detail.
I think the arrow. I know. Like I too would have been a little bit annoyed if the arrow was the key to defeating this monster. But I do think that weapon, like that dragon armor or whatever, it was strong enough to penetrate the skin. So it did damage. And I think that was that was a crucial starting point to get the rings where they need to be. At least that's how I interpreted that scene.
Okay, and that could be me just not noticing because when I looked, it didn't seem like there was an actual wound. But that could be something that I just didn't see. So that's perfectly fine. I could have just not noticed it. It just, the way it was executed, I felt could have been a little bit better. But again, this is their first time doing this level of whatever so they have more chances again. I'm perfectly fine with how it ended. Just didn't expect it to end that way, but I was perfectly fine with how it ended. So this is one of those where I had some issues with the first one, but I'm really excited for what his sequel could be because he's set up and then they could just go. It's kind of like how I felt with the first Captain Marvel, where there was some issues in the beginning, but then towards the end it got better when you kind of got everything, and now the next one could be really great.
That's kind of how I felt about everyone's first film. Like I think the strongest solo film, which even has third act problems, is Black Panther, which had up until the generic CGI fight, thematically, from a thematic and just overall cinematic perspective, I think it's the strongest from start to finish.
It is very strong. It's just that, and it's one thing that drags that movie down for me. And I know they're we have to do this. There's a point in that film where you as an audience member have to believe or be faked to believe that T'Challa died. That's the only part where it's kind of man, you should have just had him beat to a pulp and then someone threw in the ringer and then just went on with it, because that was the only part where it's just okay, counting down the 10 minutes till they find T'Challa in a gutter somewhere. Come on, where are we going to find him? It's it's the only part I had it, but other than that, the movie's great and it's super good. That's the only part where I had where I was kind of come on, are we really falling for this?
But my point overall is that every first movie has had that it had that that dent in the armor that left room for improvement.
The only two I honestly didn't feel that way for was the first Iron Man and the first Captain America movie. Those are the only two where I felt didn't have that.
With Iron Man, it's the third act that I kind of just I kind of just tune out because
I can see that.
yeah. But Captain America: The First Avenger I love from start to finish.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was kind of a wasn't there also what it like it was a rumor going around, but didn't they like factually state or somewhere along the lines that they didn't have an actual script
For Iron Man?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like they were kind of just had rough storyboard ideas and they just kind of went. Hey, it works. But yeah, for a character that they, according to Kevin Feige and whatever thing that came out recently, was one of the 10 characters they pitched their studio on.
Oh, and he was one of them?
He was one of if you gotta I'd have to find it. Shang was one of the like 10 movies they based their pitch for the Marvel Studios on. Shang was one of them.
And
then it's the usual suspects after that. Shang was the one kind of out there one. But yeah, I'd have to find that article at where it's at, but yeah.
One last thing before we sign off. Someone was asking on Twitter what do you want to see beyond this movie, and two pitches that I had were because Marvel now has an animated spin-off studio. I said one thing I wanted was a 13 episode anime co-production set in this world.
Oh, I want them to do anime anything.
Same. I bet after Star Wars Visions, Kevin Feige is going to be like, "Hey, we want to do something like that."
Hey, Kevin, for the love of God, just keep hiring Trigger.
Yes. And the other thing was, if they ever bring back the Marvel one shot, I want a 10-minute silent short film, kind of like the first 10 minutes of Up, where it's just focusing on Wenwu and the mother.
That'd be kind of cool.
Trying to find her name. Oh, Yingli.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'd be up for them doing and they don't even have to be canon. Just do a Marvel anime something, because I want something nuts like Batman Ninja, but in Marvel. You've got some stuff you could do like Moon Knight, some just off the balls characters, like you're gonna have that stuff on Disney Plus.
There was a Marvel anime film from Toei a few years ago called well, actually no, it wasn't a film. It was a 51 episode anime called Marvel Disc Wars. I kind of hope they do something similar, not to that extent, but something more like Star Wars Visions, where it's just a couple short subjects, but really get creative and go experimental.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you've got the money, and now you've got Disney Plus lined up to where I did the math the other weekend. They did their hold on here. Number of Disney Plus
subscribers. I think last I checked, it was 116 million.
It's 116 million. Now, everybody here, while we're watching, 116 million
multiplied by
times, we'll do if they have the whole shebang with Hulu, 12. Every weekend, they make every month they make $1.4 billion.
Good Lord.
And to think, they're still behind Netflix.
Yeah.
They have room to do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
They can still make these movies with these insane budgets and make jack with the side of squat for the freaking movie retail. It's crazy. It's insane. It's absolutely nuts. They can do whatever they want, and they know it.
Yep.
Oh, what a world. What a world. What do you want to do? Pay $9. It's okay. We'll just get 100 million people to pay $9 and we're set. How are these subscriptions so cheap? That's how.
Yep.
Money on returns. Anyway, yeah, go see it. You're
Yes.
watching this because you wanted to go see it, unless you're one of those people like my buddy Chris that hates themselves and spoils movies ahead of time because they just can't help themselves. It's great. It's good. And I'm be happy to see Shang interacting with other people because, like, we're getting to have this group of quote unquote Avengers is going to be weird. You got Spider-Man, Shang, Captain Marvel,
And
Doctor Strange.
yep.
Like those
Photon, Miss Marvel,
Photon,
Kate
Miss Mar-
Bishop.
Like, I'm just going off the main people without like the side characters. That's a pretty powerful team right there. You got Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty OP team.
Yeah.
I'm looking back at like before you had Clint, Natasha, Captain America, Iron Man, and Hulk. And Thor. I mean, you had some big hitters, but you also had some people that were human and could die easily. We have the makings of a lot stronger off the basis team now, and it's kind of nuts.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's enough for one night. I have to be to work in roughly about 4.5 hours. So my old man, 30-year-old self is gonna go to bed. Mike, where can everyone find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. You can find me in all the various Facebook groups, just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Twitter and Facebook at Ren Pop Culture. You can check us out on Podchaser, listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need escape? So do we.
Absolutely. And this one, I don't know if this is going to be a 0 hour or a Marvel after the credits because Colton is still technically fine-tuning the intro.
Let's call this Marvel Hour.
Marvel Hour? We'll call this one Marvel Hour. Colton is working on something spicy, and it's going to work out a little better. He needs some more tools, but Colton's working on something. Not to mention, I have another person working on something to make this even better. So we shall see. You can find me everywhere at Organoid0. It's September, even though Twitch is being stupid, I still am going to stream. So we'll see. Then I'm streaming Donkey Kong 64 and Mass Effect currently. So if you want to check that out, at Organoid0. We will see you all next time. Peace.
Peace.